Good evening, everybody. Welcome to week 7 and welcome to the Malcontents Weekly Video Log. It's where I do a little bit of trash talking, stir in a dash of useless knowledge, and close it off with my thoughts on who will win this week's matchups. As always, this video log is brought to you by Patch.com. Tired of shifting through news that doesn't apply to your town? Then check out Patch.com. For example, maybe you want to read about how there have been 2 more fungal meningitis cases confirmed in Minnesota, and the death toll is rising. Or maybe you want to know about Ivory Ardell King. She's a 31-year-old Burnsville woman that has been charged with swindling a local store out of over $3 grand using fake discounts. Look, folks, the point is, if you want news that relates to your community, you got to go to Patch.com. Patch.com, your source for local knowledge that you can't live without. Well, folks, today's Wednesday, and it marks the halfway point of the fantasy football season. If your league is anything like the Malcontents League, it's 13 weeks long in the regular season, so here we are, we're halfway between week 6 and week 7. This is the halfway point, and in my league, what that means is for teams like Geithner and Big Sexy, playoff berths are just off the horizon. Now is not the time to lose focus, boys. What it is time for, however, is... wait, sorry, hate to do this, a little unprofessional. Hold on a minute, I'm getting a call. Hello? What's that you say? Oh, you did, huh? Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, thanks. Yeah, no, I'll let everybody know. No, thank you for the call. Dickhead. Sorry about that, everybody. In case you're wondering, that was Sean Green calling me to say that he just scored again. Look, I get it. Last week, I put my neck on the line. Called out a bunch of guys, and close to 90% of those guys went off and had career fucking days. For example, Russell Wilson, my beloved Seahawks, threw for 3 touchdowns. Dez Bryant caught 2 touchdowns. Sidney Rice, again for my beloved Seahawks, came out of the witness fucking protection program and caught a long touchdown pass himself to win the game. Hell, even Joe frickin' McKnight ran for 71 yards. Joe McKnight. And yes, Sean Green still scoring touchdowns even today. It's not going to last, folks. It's not going to last. So go ahead, laugh it up, and you know what? Better yet, run out, grab all those guys who I named off last week, put them on your team. Put them on your team. I stand by my comments. And you know what? Even better. Be sure to start them against me when I'm playing against you, because I'm pretty desperate for a win right now after, getting schooled by Sean Green. So start them against me. All right? Let's get to this week's hot topic.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. And I'm Midori. And this is this week's hot topic.
Thanks, ladies. Thanks. A little trip to the mall never hurts. This week, I decided to focus a little bit on what was happening in the NFL proper. For example, did you know that there are only 2 teams in the AFC with winning records, as opposed to 7 in the NFC? And there's something weird going on in the South, because both in the AFC South and the NFC South, each division only has 1 team above 500. And the rest of them are below 500, not just at 500. Now, I don't know why I notice these things, but I do. Also, and this is kind of cool, there are 4 teams in the NFC with perfect records at home. There's the undefeated Falcons, and since they're on a bye this week, we're going to leave them out of the conversation. There's Seattle and Minnesota, who are both on the road. And that just leaves us with, drumroll please, the St. Louis Rams, who are hosting the Packers. Now, interestingly enough, the Green Bay Packers are 1-2 on the road this year. So if you're a Packer fan, or if you've got one of the Green Bay Packers on your fantasy team, how comfortable are you feeling on their odds of winning a football game this week in St. Louis against a team that is perfect at home? And you know what? Their defense ain't half bad either. So don't be surprised if the St. Louis Rams manage to upset the Green Bay Packers. And by the way, if that does happen, be sure to circle November 4th on your calendar, okay? because that's the day that the Arizona Cardinals go to Green Bay. And if they can pull that upset off, they will be the 4th out of 4 teams in the NFC West to defeat the Green Bay Packers. That's right. They would put the close on the sweep. Now, another interesting stat that I found as I was looking up stuff for this week's vlog is that the Baltimore Ravens are also undefeated at home. And this week they play the Houston Texans, who are undefeated on the road, which tells me something's got to give. Now, conventional wisdom is going to tell you that since the Ravens are dinged up, having lost Ray Lewis and Haloti Ngata being hurt and that sort of thing, that they should probably lose this thing against a team that was up until this past week undefeated. But this isn't Techno Bowl, and if we know anything about the Baltimore Ravens, it's that they play with a lot of pride. Now, I'm not saying, but let's just all slow down just a little bit on this thing, all right? Because what we've seen the last 2 weeks from Houston's secondary is that they can be had. We saw it last week against Green Bay, where QB1, Aaron Rodgers, threw for 6 touchdowns. And we saw the week before against the Jets when Mark Sanchez actually had some success against this secondary. I didn't see a secondary that looked like they could turn around and locate the ball when it was in the air. This defense can be had as good as they are. That secondary is vulnerable, and we already know that Cam Cameron's not smart enough to give the ball to Ray Rice, the running back. He's going to throw it. This secondary can be had. Baltimore has a great home field advantage, and this is going to be a better game than a lot of people think. So don't be surprised. Let's just all slow down for a second, and you know what? Don't be surprised if Baltimore pulls that upset off. So that's 2. And then the third game that I think is worth keeping your eye on this weekend is the Redskins at the Giants. Now, I know what a lot of you guys are saying. A lot of you guys are saying, hey, look, Chad, Agro, Durden, you are not an Eli guy. You can't stand him. You think he's ridiculous. Yeah, you know what? You're right. I don't like him. And you're also going to say that last week the Giants went into San Francisco and they embarrassed what is largely known and recognized as a really good defense. And you know what? You're right. They did that too. And the rest of you out there are thinking that you can't spell elite without E-L-I. And to that I say, fuck off. But here's what we need to all remember. Last season, Rex Grossman III, the original RG3, swept the G-Men. And the Giants, as good as you might think they are, that's right, the elite Eli Manning and the New York Football Giants, as good as you think they might be, this is the same team, people, that was 7-7 last year with 2 weeks left to go. So let's just slow down a little bit and not be surprised if the Skins, a divisional opponent, divisional opponents always play it tough. A divisional opponent, if they just hang around in this game just a little bit, let's not be surprised if that should happen. And if they do, if they should hang around in this game, which I suspect they will, because that's what the Redskins do. They don't do anything pretty. They don't get blown out. They never get blown out, and they never blow anybody out. You can always count on a Redskins game. One of my best friends is a Redskins fan. God bless her. When wherever we're watching these games together, she's always on pins and needles because we all know what she's known her whole life is that with 5 minutes left to go in the game, it's going to be neck and neck, and she's going to be stressing. And that's just what the Redskins do, particularly when they're playing in division. So if this thing is neck and neck at the end, trust me when I tell you, the latest version of RG3, this RG3 that's not named Rex Grossman, he's good enough to win this thing outright. Which brings me to this week's poll question, folks. Which team has a better chance of winning this week? Is it the Rams in an upset, the Ravens are in an upset, or the Redskins? And for those of you in Malcontent land, Let's see if we can get more than 3 votes this week, kids. Please, more than 3 votes. Last poll on who the best quarterback was in the NFC West, we got 3 votes. Let's get more than that. Let's contribute. Thank you. Okay, let's get to the matchups. This week's matchups are a little bit like the trip to the Deja Vu, except in Malcontent Land, we've got 5 pretty ones and only 1 really ugly one. So let's get to the ugly one out of the way first, all right? Durden versus Maximus. Now look, I don't know if you guys remember this, but back in the olden days of ESPN, there would have been a Robin Roberts game. That was always they'd always make her do the highlight reel for the stinker matchups. And since we all know I'm going to pick myself in this game, let's just move on, okay? Zeus versus Chop. Oh, wait, sorry. Hang on, get another call. Yep, right, got it. Yep. Looks like Sean Green just scored another touchdown for Zeus. This game, sorry, it's a cheap gag. What do you want from me? This game promises to be really competitive. I'm going to take Zeus in a close one. Orb versus Tiny. I love you, Orb. You got a lot of boomer bust guys in your lineup this week, and strangely enough and amazingly enough, it's Tiny that has the roster filled of what I consider to be consistent contributors. So give me Tiny this week, please. M3 versus Mass. Here's another one for Miss Roberts because it's kind of an ugly game. But the good news for us here in the Northwest and those who work in the juice business is that this is the week that Boogie Woogie resumes his slide, as Mass will take the Madwin out to the woodshed, and Mass will win this one in a walk. Lippy versus Steel. This, folks, is our game of the week, and we've got Steel going toe-to-toe with Big Sexy. And trust me when I tell you, if Steel isn't careful, Terry will end up in Big Sexy's binder before the weekend's over. I expect a close game, but I'm going to take Lippy to win this one, and he's going to continue to exert his dominance over the entire league. Right now, he is the best team in our league. He's averaging well over 115 points a week, and somebody's got to stop him. Now would be good. And finally, my upset special, Barb over Geithner. Well, that's it for this week, folks. Enjoy the games. The Hawks play tomorrow night against the hated San Francisco 49ers, at which one point I hope to hear Malibu Pete look over to Captain Khaki and say, "Dude, what's your deal?" Anyway, that's it for this week, folks. Now bring me that horizon.